Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to begin with chapter 6 of class 8 alternative English Nagaland board, which is This is Jody's Fawn. Now, fawn, as we all know, is a baby deer. Okay, so a baby of a deer is what we call a fawn. And Jody's fawn. So Jody is the name of a boy whom we are going to talk about in this chapter. Now Jody's father was bitten by a snake, and in order to draw out the snake poison from the body of his father, Jody was forced to kill a doe, a female deer, and use her liver and heart to draw out the poison. Now, obviously, the mother deer was dead now, and the fawn was all by himself. This made Jody very much responsible towards looking after the fawn and taking care of the fawn. And that is when he decided to bring the fawn back home. He took his father's permission to bring the fawn home, and the entire journey and the beautiful relationship that Jody and the fawn shared, the acceptance that the fawn showed towards Jody has been showcased in this chapter. This is Jody's. So let us start reading. As I told you in this story, Jody's father has been bitten by a rattlesnake, and Jody uses a doe and uses its liver and heart to draw out the poison. Jody was thinking what will happen to the fawn now that the mother was dead. So, Jody allowed his thoughts to drift back to the fawn. He could not keep it out of his mind. He had held it in his dreams in his arms. He slipped from the table and went to his father's bedside. Penny lay at rest. His eyes were open and clear, but the pupils were still dark and dilated. So Jody allowed his thoughts to drift back to the fawn. So Jody's thoughts were always going back to the same fawn. So he was again and again thinking about the fawn. He just could not keep the fawn out of his mind. In his thoughts, in his dreams, he always thought of holding that fawn in his arms. He slipped from the table. Slip from the table means very quietly he got off from the table and went to his father's bedside. His father, Penny, was lying. He was resting. His eyes were open, his eyes were clear, but his pupils, the black portion that you have in your eyes, that was still dark and it was dilated. It was still big because he was in pain and he was still recovering from that poison. Jody asked his father, "How are you feeling, Pa?" "Just fine, son. Old death has gone thieving elsewhere." "But wasn't it a close shave?" So his father said that I am doing fine, but that old death has gone thieving elsewhere. Old death has gone thieving elsewhere means I had a very narrow escape from the death. It has gone thieving elsewhere means I got to save myself. I was almost going to die, but I got a very narrow escape from the death. "I agree," Jody said. Penny said, "I am proud of you, boy. The way you kept your head and did was needed." So the father was very happy with the way Jody had acted in that situation. Being a little boy, he was bound to get scared, but he did what was required to save his father from dying. "Pa, yes, son, Do you recollect the doe and the fawn? So Jody asked his father that, can you remember the fawn and the doe? I can never forget them. The poor doe saved me, that's certain. So the father said, I can never forget them because it was because of that doe, that female deer, that I am saved today. Pa, the fawn may be out there yet. It might be hungry and very scared. So Jody told his father that the fawn whose mother we have killed would be out there in the jungle, alone, hungry, and scared. The father said, I suppose so, that yes, even I was thinking of the same. Pa, I am a big boy now and don't need to drink milk. Why don't I go and see if I can find the fawn? So very innocently, Jody told his father that now that he was growing up, he did not need to drink milk. So that meant he could give his share of milk to the fawn. So he wanted to get his father's permission to go out and see if he was able to find the fawn and bring him home. And bring it here? The father asked, do you want to bring the fawn home and raise it? And Jody said, not only bring him, but also raise that fawn. Penny lay quiet, staring at the ceiling. So Penny simply kept on lying, did not say anything, and looked at the ceiling. Boy, you've got me hemmed in. Got me hemmed in means you have got me in a situation. I am confused. It won't take much to raise it, Pa. It will soon start eating leaves and acorns. So Jody said, then don't worry, Pa. We will not be needing a lot of resources to raise that fawn. Very soon the fawn will start eating leaves and acorns. Acorns, the small brown nuts which are seen growing on the trees. The father said, you are smarter than the boys of your age. Jody said to this that we took its mother and it was not to blame. So Jody said that we were the one who killed his mother and it was not the fawn's mistake. Why should the fawn suffer now by being hungry and by being alone? Surely it seems ungrateful to leave it to starve. Son, I can't say no to you. I never thought I'd live to see another day. So the father says that yes, it is very ungrateful. It is highly unthankful if we leave that, fawn to starve, to be hungry. And he also says that there is no reason I can say no to you. It is because of that fawn, it is because of that doe, the fawn's mother, that I am alive. I never thought I would live to see another day. Jody said to his father, can I ride back with Millwheel and see if I can find it? Tell your ma I said you to go. So Jody asked his father if he could go and find the fawn with Millwheel on his horse and bring it back home. The father gave him the permission and also said that you may tell your mother that I have asked you to. So Jody sidled back to the table and sat down. Sidled back, very quietly he came and sat at the table. His mother was pouring coffee for everyone. Pouring was putting coffee in the cup for everyone at the table. And Jody said, Ma, Pa says I can go bring back the fawn. What fawn? The fawn belonging to the doe we killed. We used the doe's liver to draw out the poison and save Pa. So Jody told his mother that I have got father's permission to bring the fawn back home. The mother asked, what fawn are you talking about? And Jody said the same fawn that we used to save father's life, the same fawn whose mother we had killed and used the heart and liver to draw out the poison from father's life, from father's body. She gasped. She could not say anything. She just stood there with her mouth open. Well, for pity's sake. So the mother wanted to say something to Jody. But Jody interrupted and said, Pa says it would be ungrateful to leave it to starve. So Jody said that father only told me that it is very unthankful on our part to leave the fawn whose mother's life we have taken, to leave it like it to be starving. Doc Wilson, so Dr. Wilson, who was also present at the table, said, That's right, ma'am. Nothing in the world comes quite free. The boy's right and his daddy's right. So Dr. Wilson said that the boy is absolutely correct, ma'am. Nothing in the world comes free. Both the father and the son are right. That means that if you took the doe's life and saved Penny, your husband's life, then it is your responsibility to now look after the child of that doe as well. Millwheel said, he can ride back with me, I will help him find it. So even Millwheel agreed that I will help him find the pot. She set down the pot helplessly. So now when everybody tried to make the mother understand, she could not say anything. She simply kept down the pot helplessly. Well, if you will give it your milk, we've got nothing else to feed it. So the mother said, okay, but you will only be able to raise it if you give it your share of milk, because we don't have much to feed the fawn with. Millwheel said, come on boy, we've got to get riding. So Millwheel also said, come on, we have to start our journey in order to find that fawn. Ma Baxter asked anxiously. So anxiously, she was obviously worried for her son who was going to the forest to find the fawn. And she asked her son, you will not be gone long. That I hope you will be back home soon. And Jody said that I'll be back before dinner. Millwheel mounted his horse and pulled Jody up behind him. Pulled Jody up behind him, as you can see in the picture. So Millwheel, he took out his horse, mounted his horse, means he got his horse on its feet, and he helped Jody sit behind him. He said to Millwheel, do you think the fawn's still there? Will you help me find him? So Jody asked Millwheel if he would help him find the fawn. We'll find him, he's still alive. How do you know it is a he? So Millwheel told Jody that if the fawn is alive, we will surely find him. But tell me one thing, how do you know that fawn is he, that it is a male baby and not a female one? To this Jody said, the spots were all in a line. On a doe fawn, Pa says the spots are every which way. So Jody told Millwheel that his father has taught him that in a baby fawn, if the spots are in a line, that means it is a male. And if the spots are spread all across the deer's body, then it is a female. So what did we read in the first part of the chapter? We read about Penny Baxter, who had got bitten himself by a snake and now was recovering because his father killed a doe, used its liver and heart to draw out the poison. Jody felt it obliged to bring back the fawn whose mother they had killed to save his father and raise him. He sought his father and his mother's permission and started on his journey to find the fawn and bring it back. Let us discuss the comprehension check questions. So what happened to Jody's father? Jody's father had got bitten by a snake. How did the doe save Penny's life? So the liver and the heart of the doe was used to draw out poison out of Penny's body. Why does Jody want to bring the fawn home? Jody wanted to bring the fawn home because he felt it was ungrateful on their part to leave the fawn starving and in danger, whose mother they had killed for their own purpose. How does Jody know that the fawn is a male? Jody knew that the fawn was a male because the lines on the fawn's body were all in a proper line. The spots on the fawn's body were in a line. Had they been spread all across, that would have indicated that the fawn was a female. Now let us move on to the second part of the chapter. Jody gave himself over to the thoughts of the fawn. They passed the abandoned clearing. So Jody gave himself, means Jody was engrossed. He was totally occupied in the thoughts of the fawn. And they passed the abandoned clearing. They passed that area where the entire incident had taken place. He said, cut to the north, Millville. It was up here that Pa got bitten by the snake and killed the doe, and I saw the fawn. So he told Millville to move towards the north because it was at that point where his father got bitten by the snake. The doe was killed and he had seen the fawn. Suddenly, Jody was unwilling to have Millville with him. If the fawn was dead or could not be found, he could not have his disappointment seen. And if the fawn was there, the meeting would be so lovely and so secret that he could not endure to share it. Suddenly, when they started getting nearer to the place where Jody had seen the fawn the previous day, he was unwilling. He did not want Millville to be with him. There were two reasons. If, according to him, the fawn was dead, or if he was not able to find the fawn, Jody would obviously get very sad and disappointed. And he did not want Millville to see that sadness on his face. On the other hand, if he was able to find the fawn, the meeting of Jody and the fawn would be so lovely that he wanted it to be secret. He did not want to share the feeling, the beauty of their meeting with anybody. He said, it is not far now, but the scrub is very thick for a horse. I can make it on foot. So Jody said to Millville that now that place I want to go is not far, and the scrub, the bushes in that area are very thick. So your horse could not be able to ride in that place. I can make it on foot. Now you may leave me and I will carry forward. I will move ahead on foot. But I'm afraid to leave you, boy. Suppose you got lost or got bitten by the snake too? So Millville did not want to leave Jody alone because he was afraid that he might get lost or be bitten by a snake himself. I'll take care. It might take me a long time to find the fawn if he's wandered. Leave me off right here. All right, but you take it easy now. You know north here and east. There and there. That tall pine makes a clearing. So, he said that I will take care of myself. Besides, it might take me a long time to find the fawn. If the fawn has wandered, if the fawn is wandering in the forest, I might take it long to find him. Leave me and I will continue alone. Millville said, all right, but you have to take it easy. That means you have to take care of yourself. You know the north and the east directions, right? So Jody told him there and there. So he directed that yes, there is the north and there is the east direction. And the tall pine tree that is there makes the bearing. That is the compass which will help me to identify the directions. So long, Millwheel, I'm obliged. So he thanked Millwheel for having brought him there and he was grateful. He waited for the sound of the hooves to end, then cut to the right. The scrub was still, only his own crackling of twigs sounded across the silence. He wondered for an instant if he had mistaken his direction. So Jody kept on standing there and waited for Millwheel and his horse to leave the place. Hooves means the sound of the footsteps of the horse. So Jody waited for the sound of the hooves to totally disappear and then he started moving towards the right. The scrub there, the bushes in that direction were still. There was no movement of anything. His own sound could be heard when he was stepping on the twigs, when he was stepping on the small branches. The crackling sound could be heard. He was mistaken. He was wondering. He was doubtful if he was moving towards the wrong direction. Then a buzzard rose in front of him and flapped onto the air. He came into the clearing under the oaks. Buzzards sat in a circle around the carcass of the doe. They turned their heads on their long, scrawny necks and hissed at him. He threw his bow at them and they flew into an adjacent tree. The sand showed large cat prints, but the big cats killed flesh and they had left the door to the carrion birds. So, the moment Jody moved ahead, there was a buzzard that rose in front of him. Buzzard is a large vulture that feeds on the dead animals. So, a bird rose in front of him, flapping its wings into the air. Jody reached into the clearing, a clear area under the oak tree. There was the carcass of the doe. The dead body of the doe was there, and the buzzards. There were a lot of such vultures that sat around the doe, feeding themselves on the dead flesh. The moment they saw Jody going nearer to them, they looked towards Jody, their scrawny necks, their big necks turned towards Jody, and they hissed at him. They started making sounds because they were disturbed by Jody's arrival. Jody threw a bow, a piece of branch at the buzzards, and all the buzzards flew to an adjacent, to a tree which was nearby. The sand around the door showed that there were large cat prints. Large cat prints means maybe a leopard or a lion or a tiger had come near. But the big cats, these leopards and the tigers, they always killed the animal and then eat it, rather than feeding themselves on the dead animals. So Jody was sure that the big cats had left the body of doe for the birds to feed him, for the carrion birds, means for these vultures to feed on. He parted the grass at the place where he had seen the fawn. It did not seem possible that it was only yesterday. The fawn was not there. He circled the clearing. There was no sound and no sign. The buzzards clacked their wings and impatient to return to their business. He returned to the spot where the fawn had emerged and dropped on all fours, studying the sand for the small hoof prints. The night's rain had washed away all tracks except those of cat and buzzards. So he parted the grass. He divided the grass there in order to look for the fawn. The fawn was not there. He circled the clearing. He took a round around that place There was no sound, there was no sign of the fawn. The buzzards were clacking their wings. The buzzards were making a sound using their wings because they were becoming impatient and wanted to return to their business. They wanted to get back to eating the flesh of the doe. He returned to the spot, so Jody came back to the spot where the fawn had come the previous day and had dropped down on seeing his dead mother. He studied the sand around for the small hoof prints, the paws of the fawn. But there had been rain the previous night, which had washed away the small hoof prints, except of the cats and the buzzards. Now let us move on to the discussion of the questions that follow. Jody did not want Millwheel with him for two reasons. What were the reasons? A, if he was not able to find the fawn, or if the fawn was dead, he did not want Millwheel to see the disappointment on his face. And secondly, if the fawn was found, he knew that their meeting was going to be so lovely that he did not wish to share it with anyone. And why was Millwheel afraid to leave Jody alone? Millwheel was afraid to leave Jody alone because he was afraid that Jody might get lost or be bitten by a snake. So my dear students, I'm going to pause here now, and in the next part of my video, I will complete the story and discuss the back exercises.